as we all probably know, the internet is generally a pretty toxic place to be, at least for the most part. Comment sections, community forums, Twitter, Reddit, they're all places for people to let their voices be heard, share their likes and dislikes, and kind of just overall be a place where we can share our opinions of whatever game, movie, album, or TV show. And as we all know, an opinion is like an asshole. Everyone's got one, and chances are your asshole looks a little bit different from the person next to you. This channel here is all about me, my opinions on games, and what I think are good, bad, and ugly in regards to FPS from, indie to AAA, and generally I don't hold back on what I think. I tell you guys how I feel, and through the years, some of my most viewed videos have been me roasting and ripping into asset flips, scams, or just generally poorly built and designed games, or videos discussing games that have released and died and have shut down. Now, this has made me a lot of enemies. Some people think I'm some negative, toxic piece of shit. And while I do believe that, maybe some of my videos in the past have contributed to a lot of online toxicity, I think that the place in which my opinions come from is a place of wanting the gaming industry to be better. But if you just happen to watch a single video of mine and I'm roasting an indie dev in it, you pretty much miss the overall context of my channel. But again, that's just the internet, especially in the gaming space. People will make up their mind about a person or a thing 5 seconds into consuming, and that's a wrap. I want to talk some truth today. It's been just over a year since we've announced that we're working on a video game. It's been about a year and a half of part-time work to get to where we are right now, and there's a devlog coming soon. If you guys don't know me or what I'm doing, you just happen to click on this video. In 2022, I was running a game jam with some of my most trusted community members, guys I consider some of my best friends in this online space now. Guys I trust. And during that game jam, I was approached by these guys to make a game. Like, we had an idea of doing some joke, crypto, making fun of game it was just strictly built for my community. And when we started talking about the budget and what it would cost, I realized that we'd be actually throwing up some real money. And I just said, why wouldn't we make a game that more people might actually want to try? They took 30 days and made a prototype FPS, and it was fucking awesome. I was very hesitant though, because FPS is what I cover, and I would know that we'd be held to an incredibly high standard, so it had to be good. And when I played the prototype, I had a great time. I gave the green light, and from there we put a small team of devs together and have been working on a single-player tactical FPS. For the last year and a half, I've been in multiple meetings a week discussing everything from player controllers to, features, weapon design, concept art, environment art, 3D asset creation, voice actor recording sessions, all the way down to sound and music production. I've been involved in every single aspect of this process. And while I'm not a developer myself, I've been learning so much about the process that I feel like I have a much more solid understanding as to what goes into making an indie game. One thing I didn't want to do was get lost and fall out of content creation, because truthfully, every bit of money that I make here goes to my bills and then to game dev. I haven't taken a trip unless it's work related. I haven't really gone on vacation outside of heading to Vegas. I went for a weekend, a year and a half ago. Last summer, we had a bit of a family reunion for a weekend, so I had to travel for that. But generally, I don't leave my house. I barely see friends, and I don't really get to do much, as my passion is not only creating videos for you guys, but making sure this game is on the right track. And recently I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers, just packing it in and quitting or taking a step back and handing their channels off to other people. Because honestly, guys, I don't know if you realize it, but the YouTube grind is something that it's one of the most stressful, amazingly beautiful, broken things that I think I've ever been a part of. If you take a break, whether it's a week or 2 weeks or sometimes even a weekend, the YouTube algorithm affects your channel negatively, which means that you have less of a standing, your videos get promoted less, you start making less money in ad revenue, and the second that happens, that's when YouTube decides to just kind of dump you all together. And there's plenty of channels, million plus channels, who have been explaining that they just need to take breaks because their grind and their mentality over the last decade or however long they've been doing it, even though it's a dream job, it's still a fucking job, right? And at the end of the day, I think most people would still kill to be in this position. But I don't think a lot of people actually realize the amount of work and the amount of effort that go into it. A lot of people just think that, you know, these guys just show up and play games and, you know, editing videos is easy, but what they don't see is just the sleepless nights, the long days, and just the amount of time. It's not like a physically taxing job, but it's a time-consuming process. And it's also a little weird because success in this industry depends on whether or not people like you and the content you make. It's not like you're making a product, you're selling a product, you are the product. And while I think it's fair to say the barrier of entry into YouTube and content creation is so low, anybody with a webcam can jump in and do it. To get to the level where you're doing this full time requires sacrifices that I don't think a lot of people actually realize. So not only am I involved in every aspect and every discussion when it comes to this game we're developing, I've managed to do all of that while still making videos about other games in the industry, which, if I'm being honest, kind of one of the hardest things that I've had to do. If I can be completely candid, I used to watch a lot of Blue Drake 42, a lot, since he covered a ton of games that I was also interested in. He covered FPS, Squad, Project Reality, and a bunch of smaller indie titles that he was either interested in or he didn't like. And since he started really diving into his development of his own game, Operation Harsh Doorstop, I've watched his channel switch focus solely to his own project. I can't fault him for it because I get it. You're in the shit and you're proud of what you're making, but that's not the path that I wanted for myself. But here's the thing, since I started this entire journey as a critiquer of games, it's becoming increasingly difficult to give my opinions on bad indie games because for a growing number of people now, this seems like a strange conflict of interest. Recently, I've even had people claim that I talk down on other indie projects so that my game looks better to you guys. And I say these things as a way to subtly promote the game that we're working on, which I just think couldn't be further from the truth with the way that I've had to balance this all. I don't really mention my game that often. I don't make a bunch of videos about it unless it's a devlog, but still, there's people out there who think that all I do now is roast games to make mine look better. It's also constantly showing me that there's just a lot of people out here that want our game to fail. So badly too. For every incursion or military conflict, Vietnam, games that I genuinely think had a ton of flaws that led to their demise. Like, nobody plays those games, nobody even knows they fucking exist. The people who like those games or liked those games or hell, maybe even worked on those games are just waiting in the wings to call my game out for the smallest infractions, leave a negative review regardless of the quality, and most likely just talk shit. I mean, fuck me, I don't know if you guys know this, but there are curators on the Steam store that have already left reviews for transients simply due to them just wanting me to get a taste of my own medicine. But what they forget is my intention with all of this content that I make, good, bad, ugly, whatever the game is, I always come from an angle of just wanting the industry to be better. For every day before that ends up scamming and shutting down 4 days later, there is me in the background, deep down inside, just wanting that game to be amazing so that we have something that we can play and just get some time out of. Instead of this constant roll of just jumping from game to game to game, year after year after year, talking about it, consuming all of the content that's usually super lackluster, and then on to the next one. What's the next game? What's the next game? I call it TikTok brain because like we're just in a constant state of always asking what's next. And I hate that. My video the other day on Contain, a game like just completely chock full of assets with only 4, I would say, incredibly derivative levels and a ton of flaws with things like their AI and their level design. It released into early access for like $30. And at the time of reviewing it, at least for me when I was on stream, it had very negative reviews. So I would say that like the vast majority of those people are on the same page, at least in the mindset as me, that the game just wasn't that good. But god damn, you now have people like this who come in and try to discredit everything that I have been trying to do with transients, the late nights, the constant meetings, the fact that some months I'm struggling to make sure that I can balance everything, not only just mentally, but financially, while living in a country that keeps taxing the absolute fuck out of their citizens, but still we prosper and we get through it. Some of the things this person said, I've been seeing repeatedly throughout the last year since we announced transients. Things like, I just pay people to do the work and I'm literally doing nothing myself, or saying that I'm just a project manager as if that's a bad thing. And what I find weird about this idea that, hey, all you're doing is paying people and you're not actually developing it. I mean, A, you have no idea what I'm actually doing in Unreal Engine, and B, you wouldn't say that to the owner of Larian, right? The guys who made Baldur's Gate 3. By the way, I'm an FPS-centric channel, so I'm probably never gonna make a video on it because it would perform terribly, but what a masterpiece of a title. And all of these accolades and praise that those guys are getting, you don't look at the project managers there and say like, damn, you're not a developer, you shouldn't take any of the credit. But what I do find weird is that I'm in that exact same position and it's looked at as a negative thing. And I hate that I even have to say this. I'm in no way comparing us to BG3 in terms of that masterpiece level game. We're an indie game just trying to get our foot in the door. But what I'm saying is the project leads are never regarded as not developers or somehow less than in every single project outside of these YouTuber run projects. Like, I know Blue Drake has dealt and heard with the same shit. But when you take a look at a game like Dead Matter and you wonder how mismanaged that project was, maybe they should have had a real project manager keeping things straight, right? Like, I don't get how we can go and look at bad games, objectively mismanaged projects, and then look at me and say, you're not doing anything because you're managing a project. It's weird. I covered a game in Q4 of last year called Burning Lands where the guy wasn't paying the dev team anything. They were all volunteers just working for free for years. Now, granted, I don't have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay these guys all salaried wages. It's why everybody's working part-time. We're doing what we can with the funding that we have, which isn't a lot. So that's why everyone's working part-time. If I had the money to bring them on full-time and bang this shit out, I would, but I can't. So we're kind of just working within our means. Everybody who works on the project gets paid, but this vocal part of this community just makes it seem like it's a bad thing. And the only explanation is that they just don't like me, which, like, sure, okay, but the longer we develop it and the more time we take to make sure it's right, the more we keep hearing this same kind of shit. This guy goes on to say, you know, quit roasting game developers who clearly have more hurdles to go through or have way less resources, time, or money. It just feels like you have a chip on your shoulder and you have an inflated ego. I've seen that a lot too, you know, when I do talk about the game that we're making and busting our fucking asses on. I speak about it because I'm proud, but you can't be proud of the things you create on the internet because then you're pretentious or you have an ego or you're just sucking your own dick, right? But, you know, we talk about game developers who have more hurdles to go through or way less resources, time, or money than somebody like me who, yeah, guys, I'm in a completely blessed position because I busted my fucking ass for a decade, not going outside, not going to see friends, not doing anything that a normal person working a 9 to 5 could do for like 6 years straight. I worked a 9 to 5. It was actually an 8 to 5. I would come home and I would just work on YouTube until 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I did that daily for 6 years, maybe minus like a birthday or something like that. But I really don't think that it's fair to say that because you're a YouTuber and you have all of this money that people think that we make and all of this influence and we have these developers that we're somehow not going through the same hurdles. Here's my thing. If you're going through those hurdles as an indie developer and you don't have the resources, the time, or the money, I think that's fair. But then why are you out here making games that are open world sandbox survival games as a solo developer? Or just as an example, games that are clearly out of scope for a solo developer to attempt and then charging money for them. That was always the point. That's always something that I've stuck to. If you're a solo dev, don't make an open world MMO, you know? Maybe do something like a side scroller and actually make it polished and within the ability that you have. But then it's weird, this comment specifically says, I'll admit when games asset flip, then yeah, call them out. But you end up sitting there being pretentious. I don't really understand where the pretentiousness comes from, man. I understand fully that when this game comes out, and I'm talking about transients here, I fully understand that it's probably going to be sitting at mixed simply because of people who, I mean, we've seen it, man. People are claiming that they're just going to be waiting to give it a negative review. So I would love if we could get to like a very positive. Hell, I would even take a mixed or a mostly positive. But I do know that there's going to be a lot of shit when this game comes out, because there's just a lot of, it's the internet, man. We're in this toxic little weird bubble where even though people think they're giving me a taste of my own medicine, I feel like they're coming at us from a place of malice and hate and hurt. And I come at games from a place of, I really just wish you guys would look a fucking round and see what you're doing wrong, because you can look at a million indie games ahead of you that have done the exact same things. They buy a bunch of assets, they slap it all together, and then it's shit. But he goes on to say, like, it gets tiring hearing you boast or that you're a developer and haven't done anything or physically made anything in your game. And like, I'll say this, man, every time I talk about transients, I always tell you guys about our game dev journey, but I've never ever sat here and claimed that I know everything about C++ or blueprints, or that I'm a 3D modeler, or, you know, like, I'm not a developer. And I think that the people in this community that support what we're doing with transients, I think you guys understand this, correct? I've always said, like, yeah, I fund the project. I am a part of every single discussion. Everything gets greenlit and sent to me before we make decisions. I am a project leader, manager, whatever you want to call it, a game director, but I don't sit here and brag about things that I just don't do. Like, he makes it seem like I'm out here lying about it. But anyway, going through this comment here, you bash other projects and people putting in the actual work, as if he's saying that what I'm doing isn't actual work. And the thing is like, I'm using this comment as a jumping point for this video, but I've seen this so much over the last year and a half that it just kind of starts to get a little bit demoralizing, man. We put out a demo for free to show you guys what we have cooking. We're wanting to make this game and put it out for a price that personally I think is below what it should be priced at based on everything else that we've seen in the indie space. And we're doing it because we want to get our foot in the door to potentially make bigger projects in the future. I don't understand how that can be looked at as a negative thing. Outside of, I hate Big Fry, he made fun of a game that I liked or whatever, and now I'm gonna spend my days discrediting and shutting down everything that they're doing no matter what. That's weird. But I gotta say, man, like, I've been watching a lot of these YouTuber videos of guys quitting, packing it up, you know, calling it a day, because they're tired of the grind, the massive fucking burnout that YouTube leads to. You know, it's got me thinking about like what the future holds for us, man. I love making videos, but the reason why I started this channel in the first place was because I wanted to have a community, a small little community of people to discuss games with. And I will say the channel's blown up way higher than I think I ever expected. And with that has come a lot of negativity. And it's one of those things like I guess you reap what you sow, right? Like, I made my bed, now I can lie in it. I've put out a lot of negativity, but when people think that, you know, I'm just some negative guy, like, if you guys are actual true fucking fans of the channel, I mean, you can look at the videos and you can see, like, I think I balance it pretty well. And we've talked about this multiple times, but regardless, this video is kind of just like a venting, ranting session, because I see all of these YouTubers that are just mega successful getting so completely burnt out, and I totally understand and can actually put myself in those shoes. But at the same time, I really enjoy doing what I'm doing, but I no longer enjoy the internet aspect and the social media aspect of creating content. And that's something that I thrived on when I first started. I loved being on socials, seeing the conversations around games, commenting on it, discussing it, putting my hat in the ring and doing, like, that's what I do. And over the years, I've just noticed that bad actors have infiltrated our gaming space. They hate every single game that comes out, no matter what. And the weird thing is there's a lot of people out there who think that I'm exactly like that, but I'm not. You can look at my fucking channel. You can look at the videos that I put out in the last few weeks, and you can see that it's a balance. I'm talking about Battlefield Destruction coming back in the next game. I'm still excited to see the future of the Battlefield franchise. I look at games like Pioneer and Road to Vostok, and there's a lot of just overwhelming negativity in the space right now. And I know I contribute to it, but I think the intention is completely different. And maybe I think the point of this video is that intention and that nuance and that reasoning is completely gone now. I've been wanting to make a video for a long time talking about my perception and my perspective on the industry and how things have changed and shifted since I started game development. And what I have found is I love gaming more than I think I have in a long time. I can look at a game like Starfield where, you know, everybody hated it. I loved a lot of aspects of it. Yeah, there were a lot of problems, but I loved that game. I can look at a game like Baldur's Gate and play it and enjoy it. I can look at, you know, World War III and see that they sold to a new studio, and even regardless of all the shit we saw in the past, there's still potential. There's still hope there. I love gaming, and I can look at projects coming out now and see a lot more positives than I could have, because now that we're going through our own journeys, seeing our own struggles and our own hurdles, we know that some of the things that these indie devs are pulling off in projects like Beautiful Light, like Road to Vostok, like Pioneer, is stuff that we would love to be able to do in the future, but we don't have the resources to do now. So that impresses me. But when I look down at my comments and I just see people roasting and ripping and saying that game's a scam, even though it hasn't come out yet because of the day before, and, you know, whatever other reason, what I'm finding now is I love gaming more than I think I ever have because of the development process that we've gone through. But what I'm not loving is the social media and the conversation behind it. I think that has completely deflated my excitement to make videos. And don't get me wrong, I think we've done a lot of good. And like, when I read your guys' comments, I can tell who is genuinely excited and loves games and who is here just to shit talk, just to be overwhelmingly negative. The guys who you can tell don't really play any games and they're just miserable doom scrolling online looking for stuff to shit on. And it sucks because I actually give a shit about my community and I give a shit about you guys enjoying games, and maybe I shouldn't, but like, that's why I started this channel. So it's tough for me to be like, just ignore it, because the one reason I started YouTube is to talk about games with a group of people that enjoy games and want to see it be better. While on the contrary, I'm seeing people that are down talking and discrediting what we're doing because they want to see us fail. I put a post out on New Year's just kind of talking about how I've been feeling a little bit disconnected, and some people were saying that it was a little bit vague, it wasn't really explained. To sum it up, I started this channel to have conversations, to give my outlook on where I think problems lie in the industry, both indie and AAA, and how I think they can be fixed, whether it's microtransactions or asset usage or asset flips. I wanted to start a conversation, and throughout the years, I've been doing it for a decade now. The disconnect comes from the fact that I think the conversation has eroded into pure hatred and trolling and just internet shit, right? And I think after 10 years of doing it, I'm in love with the process of making videos. The workload isn't what's burning me out, it's the conversation. And now that we're going through this development journey and we're finding out how to interact with that conversation from the other side of the coin, I've realized that unintentionally, I have missed the mark, significantly so. Because even though my intentions were pure and wanting to help and fix the industry, a lot of people have latched on to the toxic side of that conversation as a way to just vent frustrations and lash out. And I know there's no going back. And so I've been in this state of trying to balance all of these things while also understanding that the conversations that we're having aren't helping. Nothing's changing. The microtransaction situation in the industry isn't changing. The greediness isn't changing. One thing that's always stuck in my head is what Blue Drake told me when he first started jumping into game development, even before Operation Harsh Doorstop. He said that he knows that you can't change the industry from the outside, making videos, having conversations, trying to get people stirred up about shit. You have to do it from the inside. You have to take the bull by the horns and create your own games that people want to play, and you have to do it that way. But let me tell you, that process is also so demoralizing, because even if you think you've done everything right, paying developers, actually managing a project, making sure things are staying on task, those same things are what people will vilify you for. And it sucks. So all of these YouTubers that are talking about burnout, I'll tell you where I'm at with it. I'm not burned out of the workload, man. I love what I do. And I love having the conversations with the fans that get it, the guys who want to propel gaming forward. I can tell who you are when you leave comments. But unfortunately, those comments are drowned out by the sounds of people who just want to see things fail and laugh and poke fun and enjoy the train wreck. And like, don't get me wrong, it's human nature, right? You see a train wreck, you can't look away. I get it. So yeah, I'm burned out of the conversations surrounding video games. But the funny thing is, like, that's what I do. So there's been a huge disconnect in jumping into the other side of the coin, seeing things from both angles, and understanding that everything that I have talked about and been about and wanting to fix from the outside for the last 10 years on this platform isn't the way forward. But I'm in this situation where I have to continually do what I do in order to make the effort from the inside out. And I've been in this sort of limbo state that I've never really been able to put into words, where I'm loving everything that I'm doing. I'm loving playing video games more than I think I have ever in my life. I'm loving the process of development, and we're all doing it for you guys because we know you deserve better. But there's some days where that just seems like a monumental task. And so I've been working through it, and I think that's why this video has to go out. I don't even know. There's a lot of different topics going on in this video. If you made it this far, goddamn, this has been a ramble. It's been a little bit of a venting session because this has just been on my mind. I've recorded this video probably 6 different times since, I would say, August of last year, I think, is when I wrote the initial script to try to get my thoughts out there, and it's never been a complete picture. And I knew that if I put out the versions earlier that I've recorded and edited and done, it wouldn't give you guys a full picture of how I've been feeling. And I don't even know if this one does either, but I'm at a point now where I've recorded and talked about this so many times, I need to put this out. But it's tough being in a position where we're making videos, ad revenue is okay, I'm getting sponsorships, we're spending money, we're developing a video game, everything is moving. It's been an insane balancing act, and I just hope that for the ones who enjoy the channel and you guys watch and you see every video, I hope you guys understand that all of this is to say that I'm not going anywhere, but I just hope you guys understand that everything that we're doing with Transients, with the channel, with me taking a backseat to streaming less, but trying to make the content there more engaging. All of this is to say that I fucking love every single one of you who are genuinely here to want to see the gaming industry get better, because that's what this channel was about. And I had to vent. I woke up today, I was like, I scripted, I think, the first 2 minutes. I wrote everything down. I wrote all my thoughts. There's been a lot on my brain, and I have to get this video out. So if you see this video, I finally pulled the trigger. As always, my name is Big Fry. I appreciate you guys so much for clicking on every video that you do. If you watch one video, if you watch every single one, thank you. New devlog for Transients will be coming out soon. There is a fuck ton to talk about, especially the post feedback from the demo that we put out last year. Again, that demo is still up on Steam. If you guys haven't had a chance to try it out, go check it out. Let me know your thoughts, because all of the feedback that we have been getting from that demo has been put right into the game itself. And I can't wait to show you guys more. My name is Big Fry. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the next one.